Okay, moving on. Let's talk about safety. So safety is the number one importance in firearms because we buy guns, we own guns. It's a right. Sometimes it feels almost like these rights are being threatened in different ways. Nothing major or drastic has happened yet in the state of Minnesota. I don't and hopefully nothing will ever happen, at least in my and my kids' lifetimes. But negative publicity, the media really feeds on negative publicity. So let's do our part as responsible gun owners, and let's treat these firearms like they're supposed to be treated, as tools. And these tools have rules on how you use them. So let's talk about the 3 A's. Always keep a gun pointed in a safe direction. Always keep your finger off the trigger until ready to shoot. Very, very important. Lots of people test their guns, test if they're loaded. They dry fire their guns. They do lots of crazy things. I'll tell you what, I don't know of any reason why you'd have to ever dry fire a gun, at least not at a range, in order to fix or clean or care for your weapon. So accidents happen, and just don't use the trigger as a means to check if the gun's unloaded. Even if you've just checked the gun's unloaded, just don't dry fire it. Not unless you're at a range with the gun pointed in a safe direction. Always shoot your gun unloaded, or always keep your gun unloaded until ready to use. Once again, ignorant, lack of knowledge, carelessness, poor or improper attitude. We don't want to be ignorant and we don't want to be careless. We want to be responsible gun owners and keep this Second Amendment right of ours safe. Okay, practicing safe gun handling, keeping in mind the 3 A's, very important. Load and unload dummy ammo, and then practice safe handoff. Those are some of the things we're going to be discussing at the range. So you're going to state to me the 3 A's. You're going to load and unload the gun with dummy ammunition, and you're going to have a safe handoff with the gun. From a loaded standpoint with dummy rounds, we're going to unload the gun and then we're going to give a safe handoff, and we'll talk more about that at the range. Okay, dominant eye, grip, aiming, breath control, hold control, trigger control, follow through, isosceles, weaver, and low ready. These are all the fundamentals of shooting, because I believe truly shooting should be a fun thing to do, a fun activity, regardless if the only reason you have a gun is for personal protection. If you're not having fun, you're probably not as attentive, alert, as safe as you probably could be. So be in the game, have your head in the mindset of these fundamentals, and shooting can and will, and hopefully has been for years, a fun sport for you, as it has been for me. Okay, so to check the dominant eye, I actually have a video on this, but if you don't want to watch the video, that's fine. It's very, very easy. Just read through this, pause the video, read through this, and you can go ahead and do this on your own. Or you can watch the video. It's very easy and self-explanatory. Moving on. So the two-handed grip on the revolver, notice the left hand, or non-dominant hand, the top hand, the thumb is on top of the right hand, or the grip hand of the gun. And then notice the semi-automatic, the offhand is below. This doesn't mean that the only way you shoot a revolver is the way that it's shown up on top. This does not mean the only way you shoot a semi-automatic is from the picture below. These are just two different ways to grip a gun. I prefer the method from the semi-automatic, and I carry a small J-frame, and I carry a Glock 19, so I carry one of each. I shoot both of them the very same way. The key here is to get comfortable with your grip. Have a firm grip. Don't have the grip of death. Do not choke the gun. However, I will say, in a life and death situation, you might very well be choking the gun to death. And this is where the muscle memory and the practice and repetition comes in. We want to train so that when we get into a situation, God forbid we do, but if we do get into a situation, we're properly gripping the gun. A lot of people have misconception about sight alignment. So first off, the sight, the front sight and the rear sight should be on an even plane. You should be focusing on the front sight with the rear sights and the target blurred, and you should keep both eyes open. Sometimes easier said than done, I should say. But we have to focus on training correctly. So now that you know the correct way to aim, focus on that front sight. Your rear and target should be blurred. That is exactly how it should look. And you're actually aiming just under the target. You're not putting your sight plane on top of the target. You're putting it just under the target. Once you've established where the rounds are hitting downrange, you can adjust. I would recommend you adjust your sights if you have adjustable sights. If you don't, keep in mind the distance of the target you're shooting, and keep in mind that most lethal encounters in a concealed carry or a permit to carry or carry situation are going to be very, very close. I would say within 15 feet. So when you go to a range, there typically is a minimum line. I would say start at the minimum line. Be able to kill any target at that minimum line, or let's say hit the target where you want at that minimum line. If you move farther out, hey, great, you're going to be that much better. But you should be able to consistently hammer the target at the minimum 15. Okay, breath control. Pretty important. It helps in the movement of the gun and to keep your sights on target through the squeeze of the trigger. So take normal breaths, expel half of the air out, holding your breath for a few seconds until you shoot. Now, keep in mind, you do not know when the gun is going to fire. I'll give you an example. I'm going to have my gun up at the target, taking calm breaths, expel half of my breath, finger on the trigger. I'm going to apply 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, 3 pounds, and the gun should actually startle me when it actually fires. If you're predicting the fire, if you can predict when you shoot, let's say, I want to fire now. I want to fire now. What you're doing is you're punching the trigger. You do not want to punch the trigger. If you punch, pull, push, well, you can't really push the trigger. I say if you punch or you pull the trigger, you're going to be pulling your sights off target. Typically, it's left and low for right-handed shooters. For left-handed shooters, it's going to be right and low. Any situation in which the shooter may need to fire a shot quickly under mental or physical stress, the heart will be pounding and the lungs will be demanding air. Breath control under these circumstances involves simply stopping breathing and holding it. Breathing should simply cease momentarily while the shot is being fired. So, if you have multiple shots, if you are doing a double tap, let's say the threat is very, very close, and you need to do a double tap, you are obviously not going to have time to suck in another breath of air, hold, and then tap. A double tap is bang, bang. A double tap is very quick. You do not even actually, once you shoot that second round, you do not adjust your sights back to that initial aiming point. It's literally, I aim, I find my target, I pause my breath, I pull 1, 1.5, 2, gun goes off, bang, immediately hit the trigger again for that second. You should get at 15 feet, you'll get groupings roughly within 18 inches of the initial shot. Still within center mass, able to hopefully hit a target, pending your first shot being in literally center mass.